We're rolling and we're live. What's going on, man? I'm glad we could sit down and do this.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man. You've so you just got put on a new song,
hmm
"Dance" with Lizzy Jane,
hmm
and dude, tell me about that. Was that exciting? How was that? Let's just dive into it a little bit here on the music side of things. Like, how was that putting that together? And was that one of your first collabs you've done with anybody?
Yeah, so that wasn't one of my first. I've done a lot of collabs. Um, for a while, I was like really into doing collaborations with people.
Mm-hmm.
But this past year, I've actually kind of been laying low on the collaborations, and I don't know. I've just been having a lot of fun writing solo tracks. Um, I don't know why. I think it's just because like with everything going on, I can just kind of like get in my own headspace and just kind of like go at my own pace. But I've written a lot of tracks with some of my favorite repeating collaborators are Delta 9, AU5, my homie True Feels, um, and I used to collaborate a lot with this guy named Wes Goody. And I've done a lot of other collaborations with a lot of other artists, but this collaboration in particular was the first one that I did with Lizzy Jane,
Mm-hmm.
and that was set up by our management team because we are on, I believe we're on the same management team. It's called Outer Loop Records Management, and our managers kind of like hooked it up. They're like, "Hey, you guys want to work on something together?" And I was like, "Sure, yeah." I had heard of Lizzy Jane. I had heard of her. She does this like podcast mix series called XO
XO
Radio,
Radio,
and
yeah.
yeah, and that's actually how I heard about her. And I like looked through her music, and it was pretty sick. And yeah, so she sent me a bunch of tracks, and I heard the song called "Dance." It sounded much, 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 much different. It was very different when it was sent to me, and it was only like a minute long as well. So she sent me the project, and I kind of like the melodic stuff in that track is a lot of it's hers.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and she sent me like a drop, and the drop was super cool, but I wanted to like kind of make it like more of me because I feel like that's kind of my specialty is like drops and sound design and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I wrote the drop and kind of like finished out the track, and then I sent it over to her to kind of like wrap up, and she wrote the vocals on it. And then after we wrapped it up, it was just kind of like sitting on the shelf for a while, like a month or two. I wrapped it up in about around June, I want to say,
Wow.
and then it sat on the shelf for like a month. I got the stems in March, like right before the pandemic hit, and I was like kind of procrastinating on it for a while, and because I'm a horrible procrastinator when it comes to collaborations and things like that. Um, so real quick, like just a side note, a lot of producers love deadlines.
Right.
When I have a deadline, it makes me want to procrastinate more. That's why I was
Interesting.
saying like I've been kind of writing a lot of solo tracks this year because I'm just kind of like doing my own thing, going at my own pace. Don't
Yeah.
really have to like rush it. You know what I mean? I can
You don't
like.
like.
I mean, there are tracks that I make where I get it done really quickly, but then there's some that I kind of sit on, and you know what I mean?
You don't like the rush of the art. You like to let it flow, kind of feel it
Yeah,
out. Like if okay, like
exactly.
kind of let it improve as much as possible, rather than like okay, you gotta do
Yeah,
it. You have to do
and
it
I
in
like
15 days. And you're like, oh god, okay, let me just do it the night before.
exactly. I that's how I did school, and that's how I do collaborations and stuff. Um, but yeah, so what happened is that Excision's management hit up Lizzy Jane's management because it's like we're on the same team, but we have separate managers.
Hmm.
And she sent them a bunch of tracks, and they were interested in the track. So that's kind of how that happened. I feel like it was kind of luck. You know what I mean? Obviously we both worked really hard on this track, and we're both really happy with it. But it just I don't know. I just didn't anticipate that this release was gonna pop off the way it was.
Yeah, I
So
mean, we were talking about that a little bit before we started the recording, but like I said, it was one of my favorite tracks on Night itself,
I
and
appreciate that.
absolutely, man. But like on the real, it was, and I don't know if you know this, I I interviewed Lizzy before, so I've been
I
in
didn't
contact
know
with her a
that.
little bit, and she was one of the first DJs I got to interview, and so like when I saw that she was featured on it as well, I messaged her and was like, hey, like congrats, like that's awesome, blah blah blah, and I checked it out, and the song is like we were saying, it's a little bit, it's in that playlist, it's a lot of rhythm. I mean, everything's hard in that one playlist, of course, but there's a lot of rhythm, and yours like stuck out as a little. Your song that you got two worked on was stuck out as very very unique, and it had like a different type of dubstep feel to it. To me, like
Yeah.
more, like we were saying before, more dubsteppy rather than rhythm. It's kind of what we were gisting it to.
Hmm.
But
I
yeah,
like to
dude.
use the term bro step. It's kind of more bro steppy, I would say. That's kind of how like a lot of my stuff is. I've been trying to do more of like the rhythm kind of thing this year, us and last year as well. Um, but like I just feel like my stuff always sounds like a little bro steppy still, you know. But I think it's cool though that it's cool that it's like unique and it's cool that it stands out. And I feel like I said, a lot of people kind of hit me up and told me that they really liked it.
Oh, I was hoping to show the Google browser. It didn't connect to it. I was on your SoundCloud earlier. I was going to talk about some of your songs that you have out on SoundCloud, but never mind, that's not working. But yeah, you have an awesome style of dubstep. I like that a lot personally. Like I was listening to your Farsight EP. I thought that was awesome.
Hmm.
Like I thought that I was cranking it out in here before we started. That's why I was on mute when you came on.
Yeah.
Um, but that's exciting that so like that was the process of being involved with Subsidia. Was the Excisions management reached out to you guys and was like, hey, we want you featured on our first record release. Do you have a song you can that we can check out, kind of deal?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And I didn't entirely know that it was going to be a label when they asked for it. I thought it was going to be like just the compilation
Or an
with
Excision
like a few
selection type of
tracks,
thing?
and it was good. Like Excision was going to like self-release it because he does stuff like that. You know, he's self-released compilations, and I
Yeah.
think his Evolution remixes he just kind of like self-released, but lo and behold, he was launching a gigantic label compilation with 118 songs. So it's pretty wild, and
Yeah, for
that
real.
that that was probably my biggest release I think I've ever had. It was even bigger. I think after that, before that, it was the Disciple Roundtable release with AU5.
Hmm.
That was an awesome release. I was really happy with that. Um, and I had a Wakan release too, and that was cool. I'm just really grateful that I got to release on Wakan. But just the Disciple release and the Subsidia releases were crazy. That got me a lot of attention, and I part of me feels like I'm intensely grateful that I had those releases, but I just can't help but be a little bummed with the fact that like shows aren't really a thing this year. You know, because I feel
Of
like
course.
if all this stuff had happened during a year with a crazy with business as usual and shows happening, I feel like I could have done like a small tour or something like that. I had something like that in the works, kind of before the pandemic hit. I signed on with this booking agency called Mosh Squad. Um, and if you guys are interested in some Prismatic merch, you can go to the Mosh Squad website, and there's like a merch I think like a merch tab in there. We can get that link.
We'll make sure that's in the podcast description for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
For sure.
But I signed on with this booking agency slash like producer collective called Mosh Squad, and it's like just heavy bass music artists. And I was gonna do like a small tour with them, before the pandemic, and I was gonna play like they had a festival lined up in Maine that I was gonna play in August, and then they were gonna get something going in South Carolina. But
Yeah. Now you brought up something that you were saying, like, oh, I wish it was business as usual, because then I might be able to get seen more by people in real life and blah blah blah. But on the flip side of that, like, of Subsidia, I mean, I'm sure it would have happened, but it might not have happened as soon as as it is, because
yeah,
with Excision not having to tour and because he would have had his Evolution tour going and putting together Lost Lands and putting together Bass Canyon, like it could have been another year or so until we got Subsidia record label, and
it is true.
that's something to that there's always like a silver lining within. I know like the pandemic sucks. Don't get me wrong. Trust me, I want live shows as much as anybody else. But like, yeah, it's there is like some type of silver line or something positive that can come out of it. And this is probably one of those things because it's like Subsidia came out, put a lot of artists on the map a little bit higher than maybe they were before, and now it's just keeping that momentum until shows do come back. Doing live streams
Yeah.
or car shows. I don't know if car shows are interesting. I don't know what to think about them. I haven't been to one yet.
Yeah,
I want to go.
they are interesting. It's basically like a festival in a parking lot.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, they're cool. I know there are some that, most of the ones I've seen have been doing really well. I'm living in Denver, Colorado, and there's this guy Denver Dom. He he has this promo company called Amplitude, and he's been putting on a lot of drive-in shows, and he's been doing a real good job keeping them safe, keeping everybody like distant, socially distanced, and adhering to like rules and things like that. And he has been bringing out some really big acts too. Like he brought out Dirt Monkey and Virtual Riot and Barely Alive and Adventure Club and all these people. And yeah, he's doing a good job. He's legit. And I know that there's some other ones happening. I know there was one in Baltimore where I'm from originally, Baltimore, Maryland, where I think they had a Subtronics drive-in show, and I heard that was pretty successful. And
yeah,
they're weird, but it's kind of like the best we've got for now.
In Florida, where we're at, we've got 2 now scheduled in October. There's a Virtual Riot, Champagne Drip, and a couple others ones, and then there's a Subtronics.
I saw that. Yeah, that looks interesting.
Yeah, and it's like a 2-day one. And it's weird how they did it. It's 2 days, but you could only buy one ticket one day at a time. They didn't do like a bundle deal where you can go both days.
Right.
There's like one day or one, pick Saturday, pick Sunday, pick your choice.
Sure.
So
yeah.
it's interesting that they did it that way. But it is like a festival. I mean, it's a huge lineup, and it's
yeah.
But yeah, I'm hoping to go to that one. We'll see if I go or not. But they're interesting to me, drive-throughs. I mean, like you're saying, it's the best we can do right now.
Yeah.
At least for most states. I know, Florida-wise, we're back open. I mean, we're
yeah, you guys are
everything's wide open
full
now.
send right now.
Everything is wide as of last week. All the bars, everything club-wise, everything's open. They don't have to like. That was how they got around it before. Was the bars and clubs had to serve food. And
no, that's what they're doing in Denver right now. There's a couple clubs that have reopened and more that are reopening, and they have like a full menu.
Yeah, it's like nachos and mac and cheese.
Yeah, it's like tater tots and chicken fingers and stuff. But
exactly, that's exactly how it was here. We had a club. We have our EDM club here in Tampa, and they announced like out of the blue, 2 months into the reopening phase where all the restaurant bars were open, and they're like, we're now serving food. Like, get in your like, we're gonna have a show, and they had 3 shows Labor Day weekend, all Blunts and Blondes, and they did 10 people to a table, and that's all they did was tables, and there was no like leaving the table and stuff like that, which was, I mean, I wanted to go, and I was kind of intrigued to like see how it played out. And then now I noticed that they, the restrictions were dropped in Florida, like I said last week, so now everything's open at limited capacity, but it's open. And now now the clubs are like 25% capacity, but there's no tables, they don't have to serve food anymore, so it's like things are full sending down here. It's crazy.
Denver is like, we're at like 65% full send, I would say. Like a lot of there's a handful of clubs that have reopened with like what you were saying with limited capacity and tables and things like that. But a lot of the more traditional concert venues, because Denver is like, it has had a vibrant music scene with a lot of different venues, and a lot of them are still closed. And there's like some classic venues out here, like Cervantes, Masterpiece Ballroom, or I think that's what it's called. That's still closed. The Ogden Theater's closed. Yeah, these places. Some of them are open, like Your Mom's House. That's legitimately a name of a club out here. Your Mom's House. That's open. Black Box is open. This place called Temple Nightclub is reopening, and they're doing like this brunch thing. This place called Club Vinyl, they're doing like rooftop shows, I think, where things like that. But like, yeah, a lot of the bigger venues are still closed. And a lot of places are still closed out here. That's kind of what I'm saying. We're at like 65%. You know what I mean? We're not like fully open, but we're open like enough. I actually went on Labor Day, I went to a movie theater with my girlfriend. I went to go see that new Christopher Nolan movie, Tenet,
Oh, okay.
that came out. Have you heard? Have you heard of it? Do you know what
I
this
heard it
is?
was really good. Am I right? Am I thinking of the right one?
It's
I haven't seen
it's
it. No.
I wouldn't say it's good. I would say it's entertaining.
Okay.
I wouldn't say it's good. It's like you saw Inception, right?
Oh, that. Okay, now I know what you're talking about. I now
So
that when
so
you click that, yeah,
so
it's like
think
something like
that
that.
movie, but like more confusing.
That's what that's what I remember them saying. Now that
Yeah.
you right when you said exception, I was like, I know what he's talking about now. Yeah.
Like it's good. It's just like a lot of it's confusing and not like thoroughly explained, and the sound mixing of that movie's weird, and it wasn't just my theater, it was like across the board. Like when I was watching YouTube reviews of it, everyone said the sound mixing was really off in classic Christopher Nolan style. The dialogue is really quiet, and the sound effects and score are really loud. So it's like when like an epic scene is happening and there's this like loud music and
Just throws the whole
gunshots and
movie
things
off.
like that. You can't understand what anyone's saying, so it makes the movie like more confusing. But I gotta say, it was nice seeing like a movie in theaters.
It's yeah, we're at such weird times because it's like I understand both sides of like, hey, I want
Sure.
let's be safe, let's keep this closed, let's keep things closed. But then I understand the other side where it's like, okay, I want to just do something. Like I'm bored. I want to, or the business side of it is look, I need to pay my bills. I need to do this
Right.
and that. It's like we're such in this weird predicament, and it seems like both sides just yell at each other, which one's right and which one's wrong, rather than trying to figure out some way to do it. But
Well,
I mean, at least a soft opening is better than no opening. In the way I look at it,
yeah.
I think Florida went a little overboard a little bit here with what we did. I mean, I don't know if people know that like 3 months ago we like opened like
Yeah.
same like everything was at 50% capacity, and I remember like not even kidding, that weekend everyone I know was out that weekend. Everyone I know, every club was packed, every bar was packed, like it was. And then sure enough, like the cases went like
Yeah.
14,000 like the next week, and it was bad. And then we had to reclose again, and so it's like, like they do those soft openings, it's better that way because at least then it's
Yeah.
like you're slowly getting open. Some people might still get exposed, but it's less and less, and then the next thing you know, everything can be open, and it's better that way. Like I think we'll see. It's only been a week. We'll see if our cases go up, but I feel like
Yeah.
we had our big spike that first time we opened, so we might be okay, but who knows?
It was it was interesting too because it's like Denver began reopening in like May, and it was very like they didn't announce it. Businesses just started opening, and you know what I mean. Like it wasn't like open. It was just kind of like, hey, we're open. Like
Oh,
people
that's
were
so
just kind of.
different than here. Oh my
Dude, well,
god.
Denver,
Here it's like in your
Colorado has
face.
been.
Like, hey, we'll
I'd
be
say
open. Like,
I'd say Colorado has been pretty compliant with a lot of this stuff. Like pretty early on, they were like stay-at-home order, lockdown. There's like a mask mandate. They pretty early on they were like, yeah, let's take this seriously. And like our case numbers were really low for like comparatively to other places for a long
oh yeah.
time. And they did like the soft opening, and things were good. It wasn't until that like summer spike that like cases really kind of like started spiking, and I attribute that to like people from Texas and Arizona coming to visit. You know what I mean? Not no
It's
no
you're
no offense to
probably
them,
no,
but
you might be right. It's true. It's totally
but
possible.
there's like I definitely saw a lot of Arizona license plates, like you know what I mean. I don't know, and again I don't know if that's officially what caused it. I'm just pulling things out of my
Speculating.
ass, so but but yeah, like yeah, Denver's in this like I think the soft opening is the way to go. I think like the limited capacity adaptive business model is like the way to do it.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. It's just venues are closing, man. There's this venue, this really famous venue in Washington D.C. that just closed down called U Street Music Hall. They're done. There's this venue in Fort Collins, Colorado called Hody's. They're closed down. I saw like a famous venue in like Pittsburgh closed down. Like things are closing. You know, this is it's like I mean like how are you gonna pay rent on a like I don't know what a rent is on a place like that. Probably like $10,000 or something like that. But it's like how are you gonna pay rent on a place like that when you don't have any business? Like I could understand if it was for like a month or two, but this has been going on for like 7 months, you know? And it's sad, but it's like, you know, what are we gonna do? I
Yeah,
think
and it's weird because like it seems like there's no clear cut solution, like we were saying, on either side. It just seems like one side wants to keep it closed longer, one side wants to let it open, and business owners are kind of stuck in the middle, saying like, "Hey, we're drowning over here. Like, at least give us another stimulus check if or something. If this is to continue, because we're barely afloat now. We really don't have much longer to hang on." And it's unfortunate that I think we're going to see a lot more places like that, venues and restaurants and stuff like that close. It's very unfortunate, and
yeah.
I can't imagine being like a business owner who maybe opened up something in January and this hit, and then everything's stuck. Like it's, my heart goes out to them because it's like that's just
Yeah.
rough, just horrible timing, and
Yeah.
it,
There's this venue in Denver. It's called Mission Ballroom, and I think it opened last year. May have opened 2018, but I'm pretty sure it opened last year. And it's a beautiful venue. It's huge, and it's really nice, and it smells like a new building in there. It's Which is interesting because it doesn't have that like skunky beer smell that like a lot of venues have. It smells like a fresh office building, which is like I don't know. I just noticed that. I was like, huh, it smells nice in here.
give
But
it a year or two.
yeah, that place I imagine it's going to be very difficult to keep a place like that going without income. But I think it's owned by like Live Nation or something like that, so they'll probably be fine.
Yeah,
Live
they got
Nation's
some
like
money in
a
the bank. I think they got. Did they get any bailout or anything like that?
I don't know, probably not. They don't care about the government doesn't care about the arts. Everybody takes art for granted. Everybody's like because there's this stigma that it's like, oh, you should love art, so it's like, not work. But it's like and people just like kind of take it for granted and are like spoiled. Um, with like it's like musicians, it's like people don't want to pay for music anymore, and it's like I have like a my roommate, she's a graphic artist, and people are always like, she charges like, a lot of money for her work because she does, she takes pride in her work and she does a good job. But people are like, oh, I can only afford like $100 or something like that, and it's like movies are not being shot right now. Like movies are drying up. Regal Cinemas just closed down all of their movies because the new James Bond movie got delayed. So they're like, we can't. Movies are drying up. Like they're not making entertainment, and like the entertainment industries, they just don't care about it because it's like not deemed to be essential. But it's like, what happens when all the movies dry up and all the concert venues like, you know, go out of business? Like, what you know what I mean? Like, they just take
Mm-hmm.
it for granted. You know what I mean?
It's
And
interesting that you're right. I mean, it is something that, for instance, let's just take music festivals and music venues like you're saying. It's like we were so accustomed for years on years to just go every Friday, go on a Friday, go on a weekend, and not even think twice that it would never happen. And then now here we are, and you see the tweets probably every day of like, oh, I just want a festival. I just want to be where live music is. And that's why like, those drive-ins are being so successful right now, and live streams are being so successful now. It's really, it's sad to see that those things go, and I think they'll make it back eventually. But I also
they
think it's
will.
it's so cool to see the adaptation of like what people are trying to do to keep it going and keep those arts kind of alive as as
Yeah,
best they can. Obviously, some arts are very much harder to do right now than others. Luckily, with the music industry, you got drive-ins, you got live streams. At least in some states, venues are starting to open again, and that's, I think that'll kind of roll into the next year as things start slowly opening.
I
And
also saw in Myrtle Beach they're doing this thing called a vertical show, where I believe it's a show where it's done in like a hotel where you like get a room and you watch the show from your balcony.
that's sick. I like
And I
that.
think like, yeah, there's like a stage, like in a parking lot or something like that. But yeah, you're in a balcony, and I think it's like you can't really like go into each other's rooms or something like that. I don't know. There's some kind of protocol, but
That's pretty
yeah,
sick
you
though.
like,
I think that'd be cool to see. I
yeah,
don't
it's
know.
it's it's interesting. A good some friends of mine from like the DC Baltimore area are helping put it on. I think there's this producer named Choppy Oppy. I think he's helped. I don't know exactly what his involvement is, but he is, I believe, helping to put this event together. And I think it's going to happen this month. But yeah, I think that's going to be really interesting to kind of like, I don't know. I feel like it's all going to come back. It's just like when, you know what I mean? And it's not going to just come back right away. It's going to be like, let's do 75% capacity, but still wear masks. Let's like,
Yeah.
or maybe let's do 50% capacity, but like no masks. It's not just going to be like, let's just cram 300 people into this small building, you know?
Yeah.
That's not coming back for a
I
while.
think we're at 25% capacity here. Now I could tell you, like I said, the first time when Florida opened, because I'll be honest, I went to one of the clubs. I went to the EDM club because I was like,
Yeah.
I want live music. I
Mhm.
just wanted it, and I didn't think of the consequences. I was like, I want it. But I can tell you, they said it was at 50% capacity. It did not feel like 50% capacity. I remember looking
Did
around
you
and going, "Oh my god, it's packed!
yeah,
Like
there's
it's
a
packed. This is way more than 50%."
yeah, there's this one producer. He I don't want to say his name. But he played a show. I think in where's Guilt nightclub? Is that in
It
Orlando?
is in Orlando. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. So he played a show. It was back in like June, and
Packed, bro.
he was like the guinea pig because he was like one of the first DJs after the lockdown to like play a show, and like he flew there, and he like streamed it on IG on Instagram Live, and he was getting a lot of criticism for it, a lot. Like people were like, "How dare you? You're endangering people," and you know, so he took it down. Like he took down like the post, the flyer for it. He took down the like, cause I think he archived the stream or something like that. He took that
Mm.
down. Took down all posts. Cause he said people were sending him like death threats because they were just so pissed. They were like, "This is so reckless and irresponsible." And the way it looked in the video, it looked packed. He claims it was not packed. It's just kind of like how the club looks.
The club,
But
I can vouch a little bit for that. Guilt is a very weird setup, and
yeah,
it is a very it's a kind of smaller club. There's an upstairs, and then there's the downstairs, and it looks very small. And then the downstairs is only like the dance floor, and then there's the bar area, and then there's
hmm
the upstairs, and there's a side room, and the main room is small compared to most clubs,
yeah.
especially EDM wise. It's definitely smaller than most. So I'll be honest, yeah, I've been there when it was open prior to COVID, and it gets packed quick. Like it's not like it's crazy. Like it sells out quick if there's a big name because it is such a smaller venue. It definitely, yeah, I could see where people think it's like it would look super packed when it might not be just because it's just small.
Yeah.
It just is small.
For
Not
me, it's
vouching,
like
but yeah.
for me, I'm just kind of like I'm cool if other people want to do shows, like especially the drive-in shows. I want to do a drive-in show. Um, I might start dipping my toes back into like shows soon. I don't know. Um, kind of still on the fence about it, but
You
you
know,
know, if
I
anything, it would just be for fun. I wouldn't really like talk about it, on like social media or anything. But
yeah, and to me personally, I'm like to each his own type of thing, because it's the same argument and dilemma we're talking about. Is like sometimes there's certain artists that don't necessarily need a tour and don't need to go to shows and they don't need the money or whatever whatever the case is, and there's others that desperately need it.
yeah,
They're I have to start making money somehow, or I'm not gonna be able to pay rent, or my day job is not helping me enough, whatever it might be, or whatever it is. And I it's tough. It's such a weird and difficult decision to make. But I always, at the end of the day, it's like people who, one, there's gonna be half the people that want to go and half the people that don't. Shouldn't be a show. So let those people who want to go, and they run the risk. And I get it. I mean, I can say at the beginning of the pandemic, my view was completely different. I firmly was like, nope, we need to shut everything down. Everyone needs to wear masks. Like, we need to just, like, let's all team together. Let's get it going. Let's get it moving. And I think we should all still wear masks and everything. But
hmm
at this point, I don't know what to even think. So I'm like, well, just let people do what they want to do. Like, just let it, just
yeah,
like make everyone wear a mask and then let people decide for themselves. Because I don't know. I'll be honest with you, Florida here, I felt like the state. I mean, I worked during the pandemic, so I really didn't feel like anything changed.
What
Like
what do you do?
I do this, and then I have a marketing and sales job with a company, and
Nice.
they were considered essential. So I got lucky, lucky, however way you want to look at it. It's kind of like a double-edged sword. I was still working, but I was also working during the pandemic, so it's like
Did you have to like go into the office, or were you like working from home?
um we have like a territory that we have. So I was going to the normal territory I would go to and do what I had to do
Gotcha.
every day. I was one of the few people, I will say that, I wore a mask probably like a month into everything
Yeah.
before they even said it was needed. I actually literally remember some of my friends being like, "Why are you wearing a mask?" Like, no one's saying you have to. No one's even telling you to. Like, why are you wearing it? And I was like, you know what? I don't. And then sure enough, a month later, our whole work was like, "Hey, you have to wear a mask. Like everyone has to wear one." And I did that
Yeah.
because at the time I had people I was in contact with that were very high risk, and I was like, I would feel horrible knowing I have to work full time and I'm going home to them and I'm seeing them. I would get back and possibly give it to one of them.
Yeah.
And at the time, it wasn't even crazy yet here in Florida or even the states in general. It just wasn't crazy yet. But I just had a mask from day one. That's to me the whole mask argument. I don't understand why people won't wear it. It just bothers me because I'm like
Well,
I
it's
did it for a month and a half before anybody else did it, and then
yeah.
literally by the end of the first week, I'll even be nice and say at a week and a half of wearing it, I was just like, it was just there. It was a custom. And when I tell you I
Yeah.
wore a mask, I wore like the only ones I could get at the time were those big N90, like the big ones. I'm talking like I looked
Oh,
like
dude,
ridiculous, and it would cut into my nose, and
I
it would.
got some of those too. I bought like a pack of like the N95s with like the
Yeah,
valve.
yeah,
The kind it had like a dude like mowing his lawn like on the cover,
yeah. I bought mine
and I
from
bought
Home
a pack.
Depot.
I bought a pack of those,
Yeah,
and
I
just
bought.
like you, cause like my day job I was telling you before we started. So I work for a TV show called Daily Blast Live, and it's like a daytime news talk show. And shot out. They produce it out here in Denver, Colorado, and before I would go into like the TV studio every day because I'm like kind of like a technical production assistant. And once the pandemic started, they made like I'd say like I'd say like 80% of the staff work from home,
Mm-hmm.
and then they kept like only the people that had to be in the TV studio, like the guys in the control room and like a camera guy and the talent. They were like the only ones that could go to the studio. And for me, I kind of have like a hybrid position where one of my jobs I can do from home. So I've been working from home for a lot of this. And the other job that I have to do, like at the tech control room stuff, I have to go into the studio. And I started, yeah, like you, I started wearing a mask like pretty early on because there's like people in that building who are like in their 50s, and I'm like, and not to mention too, I'm like, I don't know where you guys been, like, I don't know what's going
Yeah.
on. So, but but yeah, like so that's kind of and interesting what you were saying about artists. I'm lucky that I have a day job, and because like it's like a news media job, it's deemed to be essential. So and we figured out a way. They figured out a way to like keep it going. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like a double-edged sword with it. It's like you're like yes, and then oh, like I also have
Yeah,
to work now.
exactly. So, and it's like, yeah, so I've been working this whole time. And that's been my day job. That's actually kind of why I moved out to Denver, Colorado.
Oh, okay.
Is one of my friends and current roommates used to work there, and there was like a production assistant position open, and sure enough, they were interested in it because I have like production experience, being like a stagehand, doing like setting up stuff for concert venues, which I was actually doing prior to the pandemic. I was like getting back into stagehand, and fun fact, I actually was a stagehand for an Excision event in March, and it was part of his Evolution tour,
No
and
way.
yeah, I did like I helped with the loadout, and I helped take down all of his massive lighting rigs. So
How was
that
that
was
process?
crazy.
How much work goes
It,
into that stage? Now that we're on the topic, not to
dude,
drift too far, but
no, it's insane. It's pure insanity. We got the load in done, I'd say in like 4 hours, 4 or 5 hours. Um, Generally, they don't want to keep the load ins. So there's a load in and a load out, and each shift is kind of like 4 hours, and anything that goes past that is overtime.
Nice.
and it's like a 4-hour minimum. So let's say you get your load in and load out done in like an hour, you still get paid for 4 hours.
All right.
And because they don't really want it to go past 4 hours because it would be overtime at that point. You know what I mean? But man, that was a lot of work, a lot of hard, exhausting work.
So when you say that you're putting, like, you're literally making the stage, the X stage, and having to rig it all up and then get all the lighting situated, doing all the tests, all the lasers.
So I didn't do the tests. That's their they have like a touring crew.
My bad. Yes, of course.
They have like a lighting director, a video director, a sound guy. I just helped with, like, I was assigned to the lighting crew, so we had to like take each light out individually, like unscrew it and like get it into like a road case safely, wrap up the cables, and they want you to do it like kind of quickly, you know, like, because they want to get out of there. They don't want this, like, it's a massive production. It's insane.
So and this is maybe me dumb asking, but he's bringing all that with him. Am I wrong or right? Okay, it's not the venue that has it, and he's picking select venues. So he's picking venues that can hold what he's bringing, and then he's bringing it all, and they're supplying with the stage hands and stuff like that to get everything rolling with to work with his team to get it up. Okay, cool.
Yeah, so the show, it was in a convention center where this show was, wild. And I didn't actually get to see the show. I'm jaded. I've been doing this EDM stuff for 10 years. I'm 29, and I started producing music when I was like 19 in 2010. It's like when I started to go to shows and I started producing music. A couple of my really good friends taught me how to produce music, and I've just been going hard with it ever since. So, but I've been to so many shows and so many events, and I've played a ton of shows. So the fact that we didn't have shows this year, I was kind of like, maybe it's good to take a break. You know what I mean? I mean, it sucks for everyone out of work.
Yeah.
You know, but for me personally, it's kind of been nice to take a step back from all of that, and I've been saving a lot of money. That's for
is
sure.
A huge positive. I will admit that I've been saving. I've saved up a ton of money. I feel great.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like now I feel like very secure. Like, all right.
Me too.
Life can throw something at me. I'll be okay. Like, I'll be good. And then it also gets me excited for when this ends, because I don't want to. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to blow it all, but like when it ends, I can go take that vacation. I can go to that festival, and not only can I do all that, I don't have to worry about going. Like, I don't have to be like, oh my god, if I go this week, am I going to be struggling, the next week or something like that? And I'm pretty good with money, and I don't ever go with something unless I can plan it out, so I don't have to worry about my money. But like now, I really don't have to worry about it. Like now, I'm like, fuck, let's go. Like someone could be like, hey, you want to go to this? I'd be like, let's do it. Like I have no. Yeah. It's such a nice feeling, at least to me. And I don't know. Again, everyone lives their life differently, but I know me personally, having that cushion of money, like there whenever, with whatever you're wanting to do, you want to switch careers, you want to go on a trip, you want to take a month off, whatever, I don't know, but having that cushion of money just makes it so much easier. Like it just makes there's like a lot less stress involved, or you're worried about your car breaking down, or your apartment needs a fix, or your house needs a fix. Like it's just like you have that cushion of money, you're just chilling. Like it's like nothing can bother you.
I agree with you, man.
Like nothing can bother you.
I've saved up like the most money I've ever saved in my life. And I'm probably looking on getting a new computer by the end of the year, like a new music production computer. I also kind of want to get back into gaming, but I'm like kind of scared to, because I don't want it to like
consume you.
Yeah, dude. Right now I don't play any games.
Tell me about it.
Whenever I used to live with my roommate, my old roommate in Baltimore. He had a gaming PC and an Xbox, and I was just like playing tons of games, and I'm just like, God, it's just the urge to just get into that. It's so strong, I'm
with you there, because it full on consumes me. So like I was when I was in college, I hadn't played since high school. I hadn't played for the first 3 years of college. I just didn't do it. I'm just not gonna do it. I didn't buy anything, nothing. This one kid moves in he brought his Xbox, the new Xbox One or whatever, and we were playing. He's playing this game, Apex Legends, and I'm like, okay, all right.
Yes.
And I'm watching him play, and I'm like, this is a dope game. I'm like, you care if I get a try here? He's like, yeah, man, go for it. Oh my god, I was hooked. The second I first off, this is all I'm gonna say is I won my first game ever in Apex. I was the champion, the first game of
Oh
Apex
yeah,
I've ever played. So I felt pretty great about that. And then I would play all the time. I'd get home from class, I'd play for 3 hours. They would go
yeah,
to, what's funny is like they would go to bed and I would stay up an extra 2 hours and play and just like going at it. And then I was like, I gotta stop this. And I went home for the summer. And I was like, okay, I get a little detox. Then my friend, they all have PS4s back home, and I'm like back home, and he's like, hey, I have an extra PS4. Like I don't need it. It's broke. You can't use the disc, but you can download games if you want it. And I was like, sure. And I took it, and the same thing happened. I was just going crazy. And now I left it.
yeah,
I've moved, and I left it at home. I just left it at home. I was like, I do not need this here. I don't want anything to
yeah,
do with it. Like it full on consumes me. I get into it. It takes up too much
yeah,
time. Too much time I can do other stuff
yeah,
with.
man. I was the same way when I moved in with my old roommate Delta Nine in Baltimore. He had like a gaming PC, and I was really into this game Battlefield One,
Yeah.
and I was
Oh.
into Overwatch for a little bit, but I was like big into Battlefield. So yeah, I would like wake up, play it like a little bit before work, like get home, play it a little bit, and I was just like, I could be working on music, you know.
It. Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like terrible. Like I still got music done, but like I've just try to stay focused on music as much as I can. And honestly too, sometimes I force myself to make music. I know that's not a popular opinion, but sometimes you got to force it. Sometimes you just got it. Real artists sit down and get work done when they don't feel like it. And I'm not saying to always do that. Like, definitely give yourself breaks. But there's been so many times where I've been like, I don't feel like working on music, but I should. And then I do it and I get into it. And I'm like, and like an hour or two passed. And I'm just like, oh my God, I just made something. And I wasn't thinking about it, you know? And I totally didn't feel like it. But it's like, I see so many people that are like, I can't work on music. I don't feel inspired. And, they just don't get anything done. And they're like, why don't I get anything done? And I'm like, you got to force it. Like, just sit down and make something, you know? So that's kind of like with the video games. And even when if I find a TV show I really like, I still find time to work on music because I just try and
Yeah, I want to cut
keep
you
it
off right there
consistent.
because go back to that on the making music part and like when it's hard and when you don't want to. Like that's like it's a very it's like the adversity aspect of it. Like you've got to be able to make it. You've got to go through that adversity of like I might not want to do this. Like there's been times where I don't want to do a podcast. Like I don't want to come to my studio and do an hour and a half podcast and then edit it and blah blah blah. Like I don't want to do all that. But like that's what separates you from people that really want. Like you might really want it, and someone else might really want it. But then, you know, when things start getting hard and harder to do, and you're going through a little rough patch, maybe in life, or you just don't want to do it, like that's when the adversity kicks in and separates you from somebody who's like, oh, I only want to do it when I feel great. You know, like that's what
Mhm.
separates, like you're saying, like that's what separates like the really great artists from those who maybe aren't. It's because like there are going to be times where you don't want to do it, but you got that determination and you're facing that adversity to just push through and go, this is what I want, and I'm doing it even though I don't want to do it. I'm doing it because I want it for me later, type of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, that's another thing too. Like, it's like it's just keeping it's a grind. Like, it's just not all fun all the time. Like, even if you have a dream job, it's just not all fun all the time. And also too, on the flip side of that, it is important to take breaks. It's a balance. It's a balance. For me, what I usually do is that I'll go hard on music for like 2 weeks, and then I'll kind of take like a week off. And when I mean a week off, I'm still like working on stuff.
mm-hmm.
Um, like I'm still working on tracks and projects and stuff, but I'm not like hyper focused on something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Um, but like I feel like there's this kind of toxic mindset in the EDM producer kind of community where everybody thinks they need to be in the studio 10 hours a day every single day all the time, or else you're not going to make it. And I mean, like, that obviously, if you're in the studio all the time 10 hours a day, you are probably going to make it faster than somebody who only does it like once a week or something like that. But I feel like you don't have to do that in order to succeed. Like there's many ways for success, and sometimes, like I was mentioning, going at your own pace is the best way to success.
Y-
And also, like, people have lives outside of music. Like I have a day job. I have a part-time job. I, have a girlfriend. I have friends. Like I try to exercise when I can. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, I think it's
I
I think what you're hitting on in is that it's important to do it the way you want to do it. There,
exactly.
somebody might want to do it 10 hours a day, and that's what fuels them. They get happy when they do 10 hours a day. But then I might want to do 5 hours a day, and then I want to go home and chill the other five, and like
Yeah,
just
exactly.
unwind. And that might make me happy. And both are like different paths to the same success. There's no like set in stone way of doing anything. And it's so important for people to realize that, because I think you're right. I think a lot of people get caught. I used to get caught up in that of like I have to work, work, work. Like this is 24/7. If I don't do this 24/7, I don't love it. And that might work for some people. And other people, like I've found with me, is I go hard 4 days. I go hard 4 days a week. Monday through Thursday, it's work, and I come home, I go to the studio, or I go to the gym, and that's it. That's it. And then on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'm unwinding. I might go out with the
Yeah.
friends. I might sleep all day. I might just go to the beach, like whatever. I'm just unwinding those 3 days. I'm not doing it. Now, I'm making an exception here and there, of course. Sometimes you got it, every once in a while. But like, that's the thing, is exactly what you're saying is like there's no one set in stone way of doing something. And I think it's ridiculous to view it that way and to tell people they have to do it this and that way. It's yeah.
Exactly. And I think that's what I've discovered. Because I used to feel guilty, and I still kind of do, where it's like if I'm not like in the studio working on music whenever I have a spare moment, then I'm not doing it right. And I see like the online motivational speakers, they're just like in the studio, been in here 10 hours, like I'm grinding, like I'm making it happen. What are you doing? Like you're wasting time. You better get in the studio. Or it's like just because you're off work doesn't mean you can slack off. Like better get your ass in the studio. And it's just like that's so toxic.
I
Like
think, and
let
I agree. I think their message at first is like it's great. I can tell you at first, when I first heard that stuff, it did get me kind of lit a fire under my ass. Like I need to start doing this more. But
sure,
then
yeah.
but then you're absolutely right that it's like you get to a point where you're either going to get burnout, or other things in life are going to just fall apart, whatever it might be. And then you're going to have that realization of like, holy crap, I can't do it all the time, because it's messing with everything. And it's that's something that I know on here I like to preach now, is definitely, like the whole podcast stands for, is living yourself for every day. Do that. Like, do what makes you happy. If you want to work 10 hours a day, do it. If you want to work 5, and then you can be just as productive in 5 and then unwind, but it makes you happier, do it. Like, whatever it is that's making you happy and you're succeeding, do it. Don't just like kill yourself because you want to succeed so bad. And there's
Exactly.
nothing wrong with that. Like, I don't think there is, because I think hard work and all that eventually leads to something. But like, yeah, there is a level of like, you could just be like dead from just overworking yourself.
Real quick, I was looking at your Babs Life graphic that you have there with the optical illusion thing, and I thought that was like part of my shirt for a second. I was
It's like
like,
right there on
whoa.
the shoulder. You're like, holy shit, it's right,
Yeah,
like on my
exactly.
shoulder.
Exactly. I was like, I wore that today. That's cool. But yeah, like I think you get it. I just hate it when people guilt trip producers into like feeling like you need to constantly be working and slaving away at music. And I've seen people that do that. Like I've had friends that like go hard, like they do like multiple all-nighters and they like crank out some amazing tracks, but then they're like burnt out for like a month.
Yeah,
It's like
and again, they might be. That's another way of looking at it. They might want to do 3-4 weeks of grinding and then 3-4 weeks off. Like there's like that's exactly what we're saying. Is like there's no set in stone way of doing it. You just got to do
yeah,
it the way you want to do it, and it's gonna work out. Like it will, because especially because you love it. Especially when you love it, you're like you're way more inclined to do it more because you love it in a sense.
exactly. For me, I like to be steady and deliberate. I don't like to do the like go super hard. I like to kind of just consistently be working on something, you know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like a couple hours here, maybe like, little bit tomorrow. Maybe like let's go hard tonight and work for like several hours. Like, I
Yeah.
like to kind of keep it steady. I always like to kind of just be like working.
That's interesting. I like that though. I mean, I don't know if me personally, I get disorganized very easily. Like I'm like,
Yeah.
if I was doing that, I would probably lose so much stuff. That's just me personally. Like I can't like do one thing for a little bit and then be like, oh, I'm gonna switch and like go work on something else and blah, blah, blah. I just can't do it. Like I'm more of like a
I have
me,
horrible ADD. That's why I can do that.
and that's
I have
yeah.
horrible attention span.
And see what's cool about that though is like you have it and you're kind of using that to your advantage. Like you're like, all right, I can't focus on one thing for 10 hours. So I'm going to focus on it for 2 and then might go focus on something else for 2 and then I'll come back to it for 2 like and that keeps you in the program and moving. And like me, I'm more task oriented. I'm like, okay, I would, I'll write down like I want to get this and this done. I'm going to do those things and get them done and then I'll be done and then when I'm done, I'm shut off. Like I said, I want to go hard 4 days. So I go hard Monday through Thursday. Friday comes around, Friday 3:30, done, shutting it off. Like I might do social media stuff, that's about it. But yeah, everyone's got their. That's the other thing we should say is like everyone does have that unique way of doing their tasks, and whether it's studying for an exam, working on extra projects, doing a side hustle, like everyone can do it their kind of own way, and it's important to find out what habits work for you in order to get your tasks done because you can use that to your advantage.
Yeah. Well, I kind of don't like it's weird. Like I kind of don't like that I'm so ADD. It definitely has advantages because I can juggle a lot of projects. And I was actually thinking about this like while you were talking about this. I feel like at the TV show that I work at, one of the things that I do, or several of the jobs that I do there, is that I do a lot of control room and tech stuff. And there's 2 positions that I do sometimes. One, I cover the audio guy because when I was working there, after my first year, they were like, "Yeah, you're crushing it. Like, we want to move you up and get you involved in some more serious stuff." And I saw, they have an audio guy there. Like TV shows have like an audio guy. There's like a sound guy that whose job it is to like mix the show, and where they're in charge of like mics and cutting off mics and making sure video packages have audio and doing sound show music and kind of like fading things out when they're supposed to be. And it's a lot. It's a lot of stuff to like keep track of, and it's a lot of really important stuff to keep track of, and it's stuff that is all equally important. And I think my ADD sort of allows me to kind of like go back and forth between all this stuff, and you know what I mean. But it's also funny because you also have to be really focused too. So it's like this weird, like, I don't know, it's weird. And then there's another position where it's like a video playback position, where in addition to doing that, you're doing video playback, you're doing like graphics, you're doing robo cameras, like adjusting RoboCam positions, and you're also doing lights as well.
That's such a cool like job and area of work for me. We're gonna have to do a separate podcast where we just talk about that line of work and what you do because that's so cool to me. Like that whole.
And then I also did the teleprompter for a while. I still do that. Teleprompter is pretty easy. You just kind of like turn a knob and it like moves the script. It's exactly like Anchorman.
Right, like it goes faster or slower type of thing.
Yeah, and you can like edit the script. I don't edit the script because I would, get in big trouble for that. Yeah, so I mean, if TV's cool, it's definitely a cool job, and I'm grateful that I still have a job and that like, through all this craziness.
I just love the behind the scenes aspect of stuff. Like to me, what's so cool is like because most people are looking at the TV and they just look at the TV, they just watch it and they watch it mindlessly and they're like, it's here, it's there. But like me, I like to look at it and go, what's going on the other side of that? Like I want to know. What's the lighting behind it? What's the production? How many times did it take to get that, right, that line right, the lighting, blah, 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 whatever else there might be involved. 'Cause I don't even know what's involved. I'm like, I want to know more. I want to know what's behind it and talk to people that are involved with it and like see how the mechanics of it work to where we see the final picture. Like to me, that's what I want to get into and like tell people about and let people learn about and stuff like that.
It's a lot. It's a lot of moving pieces.
We're definitely gonna have to do one where you talk about it.
What'd you say?
I said we're definitely gonna have to do a podcast now where I have you on and we do this like in depth, like no doubt about
Yeah,
it.
yeah. I know it's interesting because like I don't have any television experience at all. Like I had zero. I mean, I do now. I have 2 years of it. But before that, I had zero TV experience. I had like stagehand production experience. And I do music and DJing. And honestly, I think like the fact that I DJ legitimately kind of like made them be like, John might be good at these like positions because it's a lot of like pressing buttons at the right time, making sure things roll on time, like keeping track of tons of different stuff, like
They were like, he
doing
presses
stuff
buttons.
live and on the fly. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
they're like, this actually might be a transferable skill, if you will.
Yeah.
I'll put that on my LinkedIn profile.
He presses buttons. We'll put him on the button pressing stuff.
Exactly. He's like, he's good at pressing buttons. They figured out I'm good at pressing buttons, but it's like extreme button pressing. So, but yeah, like it's interesting. It's fun. It's a cool job. It's stressful as hell though. Stressful as hell.
I could see that. Like where it's just constantly go go go. Like you're trying to
Yeah.
when the time is like it's like calm and then it's just boom. Like it's just go.
Well,
right or wrong?
if you make a mistake, it's reflected on live television.
Okay, that's true.
So
that's true.
That's
true.
Well, it's also like, if you make a mistake, it might trickle down and cause other people's to make mistakes. So
okay, I see.
yeah,
definitely, we're gonna talk about it more. Definitely,
yeah. It's a whole thing. It's a whole realm. It's something that I didn't know that I'd be like into, that I sort of discovered. It's interesting. So we can talk about that.
Yeah. Dude, absolutely. I want to hit you with some questions here.
Yeah, what's
about
up?
your DJing and all that. We'll start as like, how did you get started and how did you get into DJ? I know you said it was when you were 19, you saw some shows, but like, was there a moment where you were like, I want to do this, I want to start doing this more?
Well, so I actually started producing first. I started making music first, and I made music for about maybe like 2 years or so before I got into DJing.
Okay.
And like I didn't really get into DJing. So I produced music on Ableton Live for about 2 years, and then I was like, I want to start playing shows. And I learned how to DJ from this Ableton Live controller called an APC40, which is basically a bunch of pads with a bunch of buttons, because you can actually DJ with Ableton. You can make music with it and you can DJ with it. But I wasn't really like, I'm going to be 100 with you, and this might get me in trouble, but when I first started producing music, I kind of looked down on DJing. I thought it was like kind of dumb and was like, this is easy. Anybody can do this. Nobody can make a track. Like making a track is like requires actual art and like artistic knowledge and hard work. And there's so many elements to it. And it's like a craft and a grind. It's like DJing, you can learn that in like an hour and play a show. I was very wrong. That's not true. DJing is I still think that DJing it's easy. I want to say it's easy to learn, but it's hard to master, if that makes sense. Like, if to be a really good DJ, I've learned that there's a lot that goes into it. And a lot of it's like track selection, and I actually really enjoy DJing now. I'm actually dying to get back on some CDJs. Like, I actually thoroughly enjoy DJing and have now grown a great appreciation and respect for it. And especially in the context of like being a producer, it's like I play my own, like how I perform is DJing, and like fitting my own tracks in with my favorite tracks that I like from other people. It's a lot of fun, and creating a set and kind of like going off the cuff and kind of reading a crowd and kind of adjusting to that. Like, I think all that stuff is great, but in the very beginning I looked down on DJing, so I didn't really learn it until 2 years into my music production journey, and I didn't take it seriously until so I started playing shows and learning it in 2012. I started producing 2010. I didn't really start taking DJing seriously until 2016. When I mean really taking it seriously, I mean like formatting my set. I was still DJing on Ableton, but I like formatted my sets, and I became more conscious of DJ elements, and I really tried to work on my timing and things like that and reading a crowd. I actually learned how to use CDJs in 2018. So now I use CDJs and CDJ-esque MIDI controllers. I use this one MIDI controller for when I do live streams that replicates CDJs. And I much prefer using those now. And I think my sets have gotten a lot better since I learned how to use CDJs. But like I said, I still kind of see myself more as like a music producer. And the DJing to me is like a means to an ends for the performance of my live music.
Right, right, of course. I mean, that's the way you got to do shows, stuff like that. I don't think your way of looking at that is. I think a lot of people looked at DJing like that when they first possibly get into it, or even when they first start like listening to like EDM. I mean, I have friends that are like, "It's just pressing buttons, bro," and I'm like, "Yeah, sure." Like,
Yeah.
I think that's a very common way of looking at it. I don't think it just is. And then when you get educated on it, you're like, okay, there's a lot more. Like, there's way more than I thought. So
well, it's like when
I
you get up there and start doing it, and you fuck up a lot, and people leave leave the dance floor.
That's the hard way of learning it. Yeah, for sure.
You're like, oh shit, there's a lot more that goes into it than I thought. You know what I mean? Or when you get the promoter, when they were like, hey, dude, maybe work on your mixing a little bit, like.
Yeah, I mean that's when it hits you right and smack in the face, But I mean, a lot of people I think viewed it that way at first, and then like I say, as they get more educated with it, they go, okay, there's a lot harder and there's a lot more to it than I thought.
Exactly.
But yeah, I don't think you're alone in that way of thinking, to be honest with you. So how did you come up with the name Prismatic? I'm curious.
Literally, it just sounded cool. There's really
there's no
meaning.
Click. There was no one said like prism, and you were like prismatic. Prismatic, like.
Well, so there is kind of a story. So when I first started producing music, I called myself Distant because I was like, oh, it sounds kind of dark and mysterious. And then I met a kid whose name was Distant, but with two T's. He made kind of progressive house and dubstep, and he was really, really, really good. I don't know if he's still active. I think he may be active under another alias now. I don't remember what it was. But he was really good. So I was like, shit, I got to change my name. So I changed my name to Prism because I just thought it sounded cool. Literally, I just thought it sounded cool. There's no hidden meaning behind it. I was like, this is cool. And then I found out about a producer who was Prism, but with a Y, and he was really good. And I wrote a song called Prismatic, and I was like, I'm going to call myself Prismatic. And I don't remember why I called it that. Again, I think it just sounded cool. I think the name was a little more relevant though in the early stages of my career because I produced more genres than I do now. I produced glitch hop and electro house and dubstep and chill music. So I thought Prismatic was Prismatic was kind of representative of because it's Prismatic is when light, it's like an object where light hits it and it creates a color spectrum. Yeah. So I was like, this kind of makes sense because I make a lot of different kinds of music, you know what I mean? But now I made the conscious decision I want to say 2016 that I was going to go full dubstep pretty much. I still make like drum and bass and other things here and there, but I've been mostly focusing on dubstep since then and bass music. And I made that decision because for branding, I wanted my branding to become more streamlined because I feel like Prismatic wasn't very focused. I was just kind of like, I'm going to make whatever. Yeah. And the harsh reality of the music scene is that labels and fans don't like it when you make whatever. They like you to have a thing. They want, here's his thing. I like his thing, his or her thing. This is what I'm into. And for me, it was like I'm just gonna go full dubstep. I love dubstep. I am most passionate about it. It's what I want to make most of the time. It's what I want my brand to be known for. I want to be known as a dubstep artist. I want to be known as a dubstep guy. And whether that pigeonholes me, I don't really care. I wanted to have a thing because I think when you first start making music, it's like, oh, make whatever you want, just do whatever. And it's I think that is kind of misleading. I think it's good to have some focus. Even early on in your music career, I think it's good to have focus, and especially if you're trying to take it more seriously and be more professional, I think focusing in on like a thing is very helpful. Um, and then once you've kind of like built yourself up a little bit, you can kind of like rock the boat a little bit and introduce something different. And you know, your viewers who've like gained trust in you, they're a little more open to it. You know what I
Yeah, it's
mean?
like you
Like
build off of your niche, your original niche. When you get that original crowd in
exactly.
and like, okay, yeah, we all like dubstep. Then you go, hey, I'm doing an experimental EP, and just there you go. I'm putting it out there. There you go. Enjoy it, like whatever it might be, and then
Yeah,
and they get to test it out. It's it's something new. It's house. It's trance. It's
exactly.
experimental. It's something different. It's wonky. Who knows? Like, and they can
Yeah,
just judge it for themselves. And I think that's important because first off, I think true fans would understand that you want to adapt and change up a little bit. I think that's kind of just part of. And I get that everyone has that nostalgia of like I want my artist to be what they were. I like them how they were this. Like I've been guilty of that. Swear to God. Like but then you start to admire like oh they're changing they're evolving, they've got a different taste and a different way of making this music, and you start to have a different admiration for that. You still love the old stuff, at least again I think that's a true fans would love the old stuff. They might want you to do a throwback set here and there, right? But at the end of the day they're going to admire the fact that you're progressing and that you're putting out newer sounds, you're testing the waters, you're breaking through your original stuff. At least that's my view of
exactly.
it.
Yeah, man. I think it's and I like like having a thing because it's like I feel like I've found a sound and it's like it's kind of fun, you know. Like I like just and it's like it gives me focus. Like I don't know. I've been writing like drum and bass a lot because drum and bass is kind of like a side music passion for
Mm-hmm.
me. Um, but and I also like kind of doing mid tempo stuff. So I'm kind of dipping getting back into like making other stuff. But yeah, to sum it up, Prismatic doesn't really have like a meaning. I thought it was cool. I feel like I probably should have changed my name when I did the rebranding, if you will, to like a heavier artist. But I was like, I've made it so far with Prismatic, and I have some good collabs like to my name.
I could see
I'm just gonna
Prismatic
keep.
being cool, man. You got some cool lasers. You got some different, like weird looking visuals. Like you could do a lot with it. You could do a lot
Yeah,
with it.
exactly. I was
I'll
like,
be
and
your
also
marketing.
the name's kind of ambiguous, and it's like to me, it's like the name isn't the important thing, and it's like the music, and like so. But yeah, that's kind of sum it up. There's not really a big meaning behind it.
No,
It's just
no
like
meaning, no reason as to why it came up. I understand. Kind of named it. You kind of went into it, but what is your favorite EDM genre? I know you make dubstep, and that can be your favorite, or it cannot be. So I'm curious.
it's dubstep, man. I love dubstep. I have like an addiction to it that's been going on for like 10 years. It's kind of weird. Like I always just kind of there'll be some times where I'll get into another genre. Like for a long time I was really into like drum and bass
Yeah.
in over dubstep. I got really into like drum and bass, kind of like Noisia and stuff like that. Do you know who that is? Noisia?
I'm not too familiar with Noisy. No, I'm not.
They're
I will
like
look
a
them up though.
European drum and bass trio. They do like kind of heavy sort of thing. It's like it, if you listen to it, it'll explain. It's hard. I have such a hard time explaining what music is, but I was really into drum and bass for a while over dubstep. I was really into like kind of chill ambient stuff for a while. Like, do you know who Burial is? Have you heard of
Burial.
him?
Ooh,
I'm trying to think of like somebody.
sounds familiar. To
Like
give,
I was
I'm
really
in
into like kind of chill stuff for a while.
now. When you say chill, you mean like give me an idea? Like, okay, how about this? I like melodic a lot, and I consider melodic it might not be chill, but I consider it more chill than obviously like dubstep and stuff like that. So I consider it on the chiller side of EDM.
So I'm saying chill in like in a weed smoking sense.
Like make maybe like Kygo's type music, some Odessa.
No, High Am Ghost I wouldn't say is chill. They like do dubstep kind of stuff. I'm trying to
No,
think.
not High Am Ghost. I said Kygo.
Yeah, that's like chiller than that. Like
Ooh,
I'm
okay.
saying like chill.
Like
Like
chill. Okay, even chiller than
yeah.
like see it like I don't even know like
Do you know who
Odessa.
Gallimatius is?
No, I'm not familiar. I see so many artists I
I'm
need to
trying to
learn.
I'm trying to think of like who's a chill artist that you might. I can give you some examples of artists in this genre that I liked were Sorrow, Vacant, Burial. If you look up those guys and you hear the music, you'd be like, oh, I get it.
I get it. Okay. What
Yeah,
about
you
J
would make
Wolf?
sense.
What
What'd
is
you say?
J Wolf?
Yeah,
What do you
something
think?
like. Do you know who Blackmill? Do you know who that is?
I know the name. I'm trying to think of its song right now.
It's just like it's like really chill. I
Black.
was into like really chill stuff for a while, and
Mm-hmm.
then I went through like a house music, like a funky house music phase.
That's
Um,
awesome. You
but
shuffle
like
around.
but I always come back to dubstep, and I would say specifically now dubstep is like my favorite. I actually really like what's going on in dubstep right now. I mean, everything is rhythm, but I feel like I'm hearing a lot of interesting dubstep being made. Um,
I think
and like
dubstep.
interesting kind of like arrangements and patterns and
I think it's
just
hot
like
right now for sure. For sure in the
what'd you
states.
say?
I said for sure in the states. It's hot right now. Like
Yeah,
it's
and like
the
there's like
thing.
the melodic rhythm thing is interesting. And there's like some cool stuff going on there. Like with the kind of Wakan stuff, there's like kind of more experimental dubstep that I
Oh
feel
yeah,
like is really
some
popping
wonky
off.
wubs.
And I don't know, I just really like what's going on in dubstep right now. And like I said, I always come back to it. So that's yeah,
I
I
I
listen
I
to it all the
agree.
time. I sometimes try to force myself to listen to other music. Like I really like Travis Scott and things like that. And I've been kind of like getting back into some metal that I used to listen to. I found out about these guys called Clowncore. They have some like really funny videos on the internet. They do like really weird kind of like grindcore metal kind of shit. It's definitely not for everybody. Um, it's definitely not for everybody. It's weird shit, but man, I like it. I don't know, it's cool.
One thing
So
I'll say is you can't ever go wrong with some classic rock. That's at least in my opinion.
yeah,
Can't ever go
rest in
wrong with
peace.
some classic rock here and there.
The guy from Eddie Van Halen, I think, just passed away.
I did not know that. That is sad.
You didn't know that? Yeah,
No,
dude.
I
He
out of the news, out of the loop.
yeah he just passed away today,
I did not
from
know that.
throat cancer. Rest in
That
peace.
is sad. Rest in peace for sure. Last thing I
Yeah.
want to ask, 'cause I always like to ask people this: do you have any like stage stage like pre-stage rituals? Anything you do pre-stage before you get up, start throwing it down?
Pace around a lot and be nervous.
Pace around and be nervous. That's funny.
Yeah. No, I usually that in combo with drinking a beer.
I would say most people see like I have somebody that like shotgun a beer. They're like, we're just shotgunning a beer and we're going up. That's it. Just
Yeah, for
go.
me, so specifically, what my ritual is, an hour before the this set, I pace around a lot. I kind of establish like an attack plan. Like I might like look at the CDJs and just kind of be like, okay, that's the setup. All right. Um, and I kind of like go through scenarios in my head of like what could go wrong, and then I'll just pace around, be nervous, and drink a beer, and then I'll go stand awkwardly by the DJ table 5 or 10 minutes before my set. So that's pretty much it.
That's awesome. What's it like looking out on the crowd, man? What do you feel? You love that energy of just being up there, looking out, watching everybody
Oh,
go crazy. Do you feed off of that?
oh yeah, dude, I love it. I love watching everybody go crazy. It's so awesome. It makes me like I love playing shows. I love like playing awesome, music and dubstep to crowds and watching them go crazy. And I love playing my own tunes and watching like reactions to them. Like even if it's like a lukewarm reaction, I still enjoy that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just love getting their perspective on it. But yeah, I just love the energy. I love I love the reactions though, specifically.
Mm-hmm.
I feel
I feel like if I was up there DJing, I would love to just see how people react and get that, just feel that energy. Because then, as the air energy's building, my energy's building. It's going back and forth, back and forth. But hey man, I fucking enjoyed this. This was awesome.
yeah.
Prismatic, everybody. He's got his song out with Lizzy Jane on Subsidia Records. Is it the Night volume? Right? Okay, that right?
Yes.
And the
Yep.
song is Dance. Check that song out. We talked about it kind of at the beginning. I think it's one of the best on there. Let us know what you think for sure. Dude, loved having you on. I'd love to have you on again to talk more music stuff. We just really were talking. I loved it. It was a great
Yeah.
time. I
Yeah,
do
man.
for
Thank you for having
sure,
me on.
dude. I for sure want to have you on to talk about your TV and the TV production stuff. I think that's cool. So maybe we'll
Yeah,
do a
yeah.
separate
I'd be
episode with that.
happy. I'd be happy to talk about it. It's it's pretty wacky. Let's just say that.
I
It's
bet.
wacky.
I bet, man. Anything else you want to add in? You want to throw in your Instagram, all that? I'll make sure that everything's plugged in to the podcast bio and information, but if you want to say anything right now, go ahead.
I mean, just keep an eye on my socials. I'm always like doing stuff, putting out music, releasing content. I think Lizzy Jane and I soon, um, potentially the week after this, next week when this podcast is up, I think we're gonna try to do a walkthrough tutorial of our project.
Ooh, that'd be
Um,
cool.
yeah, just keep on a lookout. And just like support my music. You know, I got some cool releases.
He's got some heavy dubstep. I like it. I like it, guys.
Yeah, man.
Get up on in there. All right, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Peace,
thanks, man. I
everybody.
appreciate it.